Hi, my name is Brittni Kaczyk. I'm the Senior Manager for the San Angelo Stock Show and Rodeo Association. And today we're going to read a fun Western book in celebrating the 2021 rodeo that's going on right now. So I hope you guys enjoy it. We want to say a special thanks to Scholastic Education for allowing us to read this book today. And with that, we're going to dig on in to The Toughest Cowboy by John Frank. This is a fun, silly book, so I hope you guys are ready. Grizz Brickbottom was the toughest cowboy ever to drive a herd of cattle across the open range. He drank a quart of Tabasco sauce a day, flossed his teeth with barbed wire, and kept a rattlesnake in his bedroll to cool his feet at night. Grizz was so tough, he could grind a branding iron into a belt buckle with the stubble on his chin. One evening after a cattle drive, Grizz and his cowboy buddies were finishing a hearty supper of fried boots and lizard gizzards. Grizz's buddy Chuckwagon, the cowboy's cook, picked up his guitar and began to strum. After a long day on the dusty trail, Grizz reckoned a good song would be like a breath of fresh air. So he set down his tin plate, fetched a spur to scrape the gnats out of his nostrils, and sat back against a cactus to relax and have himself a listen. Oh, how I miss my one true love. Oh, how I miss that silky hair, that lovely smell, those kisses so sweet. As Grizz listened to Chuckwagon's lonesome song and watched the other cowboys wiping their mouths on their sleeves and digging at their teeth with their fingernails, he began to realize that something was missing in his life. He needed another kind of companionship, someone with silky hair, someone with a lovely smell, someone who would give him lots of sweet kisses. He needed a dog. Grizz jumped up, feeling ornery as a bull with a blowfly in his ear. He snatched his plate off the ground and hurled it into the air. It spun across the sky and disappeared into the desert dusk. Chuckwagon stopped singing, and everyone turned to stare at Grizz. "What's eating you, Grizz?" asked Lariat, the fastest rope in the Wild West. "It's time we had some new company around here," said Grizz. The campfire crackled and a spark leaped into the air. Lariat grabbed a rope, tied the end into a tiny noose, and swung the rope over the flames and lassoed the spark before it could hit the ground. "What's wrong with the company you already got?" he asked. "You got no upbringing. That's what's wrong," said Grizz. "You ain't had a bath in 6 months. You never heard of a napkin. And you use your fingers to clean your teeth and pick your noses." "Didn't know I had more than one nose," said Lariat. "Yours ain't the only one I'm talking about," said Grizz. "All you buckaroos got the same bad habits, and it's high time we hitched with someone who don't." "Like who?" asked Lariat. "Like a dog, say." "A dog?" bellowed Bald Mountain, the biggest bronc buster this side of the Rockies. "Are you saying a dog acts better than us?" Bald Mountain stood up, tall as a house, and glared down at Grizz. "That's just what I'm saying," said Grizz. "Now that ain't fair, Grizz," interrupted Chuckwagon. "A dog ain't got any fingers to pick his nose with. Besides, if I didn't pick my nose while fixing supper, I couldn't smell when the food was done cooking." "It's not the point," said Grizz. "As much as I'd rather you stuck to picking your guitar, Chuckwagon, the fact is all of us here are set in our ways. You can't teach an old cowpoke new tricks. But a dog, that's another story. In no time at all, a good dog will be behaving just the way I want him to. Herding cattle, chasing off bobcats and mountain lions, taking regular baths." "Yeah, well, if he gets tired of herding cattle and chasing mountain lions," grumbled Bald Mountain, "then he can ride up front with me. Just me and Well, I ain't thought of what to call him yet. Chuckwagon strummed a worried chord on his guitar. I don't know, Grizz. A horse with a dog on it? That ain't such a bad name, said Grizz. I'll call him Dog On It. Soon after that, Grizz must have rubbed against a lucky horseshoe, because the next time he was by himself in town, he spotted a sign posted outside the saloon. Going out of business, moving back east, free dog to good home. Grizz pushed his way through the saloon swinging doors, imagining his sleek, strong cattle herding, bobcat chasing companion to be. Wouldn't his cowboy buddies be surprised when he rode back into camp with a miniature poodle? Chuckwagon stomped his boot on the ground. Doggone it. The poodle scampered over to Chuckwagon, wagging its tail. Well, at least he's smart, said Lariat. He's already learning his name. Afraid she's already got a name, Grizz said. It's Foofy. Foofy, exclaimed Chuckwagon, Lariat, and Bald Mountain all at once. That's right, and she's going to need some special looking after. Grizz pulled a bowl out of his saddlebag. Word is she's a picky eater, so Chuckwagon, you'll be in charge of fixing her meals. Grizz handed Chuckwagon the bowl. I've been told she's partial to French cooking. I've got to cook for a dog, said Chuckwagon. And keep your guitar tuned, said Grizz, because she needs to be sung to sleep at night. But not before someone takes care of her hair, he added, reaching into the bag and taking out a brush. That'll be your job, Bald Mountain. My job, roared Bald Mountain, and he threw his hat down in the dirt. Bald Mountain may have been as tall as a house, but without his hat on, he didn't have much of a roof on top. I don't know how to use a hairbrush. And when you're done, continued Grizz, you'll need to have these ribbons tied behind her ears. That'll be your department, Lariat. Ribbons, said Lariat. My specialty is tying ropes, Grizz. Then you can make her a new leash when you're finished. In the meanwhile, I've got some cattle herding to teach. Come on, Foofy. Grizz headed off with Foofy at his side. Chuckwagon, Bald Mountain, and Lariat stood there with their arms crossed, sour as unripe prickly pears. That dog can fix her own dang meals, said Chuckwagon, and comb her own hair, said Bald Mountain, and tie her own dang ribbons, said Lariat. Come back here, Foofy, yelled Grizz from the distance. A dang cow ain't gonna hurt you. A short time later, Grizz came back dragging his heels, Foofy padding behind. This dog just ain't of a mind to herd cattle, he said. Nothing to fret over, though. After supper, I'm going to teach her to chase mountain lions. As Grizz fetched his tin plate, a mouse popped out of a hole in the ground and scurried past Foofy. Foofy let out a whimper, then ran and hid behind Bald Mountain. Better be a small mountain lion, said Lariat. Phooey, Foofy, said Grizz. I took a big gamble bringing you out here on the range. Grizz hurled the supper plate in disgust. It spun across the sky, level as a silver dollar on a poker table. Suddenly, quick as a jackrabbit, Foofy took off after the plate. And as the plate glided down in the far distance, ready to hit the ground, she caught it in her mouth. Foofy came trotting back with the plate and dropped it at Grizz's feet. Bald Mountain dropped his jaw. Lariat dropped his rope. Chuckwagon dropped his finger from his nose. Well, I'll be dipped in horse droppings, said Grizz. Before you could say don't squat with your spurs on, the cowboys were jostling to toss the tin plate for Foofy. And soon they were throwing the plate to each other too. By sundown, they were having more fun than a young'un of a wrangler at his first rodeo. Finally, after Bald Mountain heaved the plate so far that it looked as if it might knock the evening star right out of the sky, Chuckwagon said, Why, Foofy ain't even been fed yet. I'm going to cook her the finest supper that's ever been made. And when she's ready for bed, I'm going to sing her the sweetest lullaby that's ever been sung. But not before I've brushed her hair, boomed Bald Mountain. All this running has messed it up. And Lariat said, "Just make sure you do a good job of it, Bald Mountain, because I want that hair shining like silk when I tie my ribbons in it." As the days passed, the cowboys continued to take care of Foofy. They fed her and sang to her and brushed her hair and tied it with ribbons and gave her regular baths. They became so fond of the smell of soap that they even moved to town just so they could take regular warm baths themselves. While there, Chuck Wagon opened a gourmet restaurant, one with the tablecloths and the linen napkins, and sang to customers when he wasn't busy in the kitchen. And Bald Mountain, well, he became the town's first professional hairdresser. Lariat opened a gift shop where he sold rope holders for hanging potted plants and charged extra for wrapping presents with fancy bows. And as for Grizz, he started a business manufacturing his own flying plates. He branded his first name and last initial on the bottom of each one, Grizz B. And before long, folks were lining up all across the frontier to buy his product. Over the years, Grizz became so rich selling Grizzbies that he was able to retire from being the Wild West toughest cowboy. But sometimes he still liked to drive cattle across the open range. Thank you so much for reading this book with me. It was a lot of fun. I hope you can go back. There's a lot of fun little things to talk about with your parents. Like, do you know what a Grizzby was probably like? Maybe a Frisbee. So I hope you enjoyed the book, and join us this last weekend for the rodeo. And Santa Angelo, keep reading.